The original Metroid was a smash hit on the NES. With the arrival of the first real handheld console, does Metroid 2 Return of Samus provide us with the deserved sequel to play on the go, or should it be left on the shelf? Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder. Today we'll be reviewing Metroid 2 Return of Samus. Metroid 2 Return of Samus was developed by Nintendo, or more specifically Nintendo's Research and Development 1 branch, and was produced by Gunpei Yokoi, who is most well known as the designer for the Game Boy. It's worth mentioning that Nintendo R&D 1 and Gunpei Yokoi both also worked on the original Metroid for the NES. Metroid 2 was released in November of 1991 for the Game Boy, and I played the game on the Super Nintendo using the Super Game Boy adapter. Much like its predecessor, Metroid 2 is an action-adventure game, using the side-scrolling platforming gameplay style. Additionally, like the first game, the game world is laid out in a series of maze-like caverns to explore freely, with certain obstacles preventing progress unless certain criteria are met. Again, we play as Samus Aran, and we start off with her arm cannon, that can be switched to exhaustible missiles to be used against enemies, the unique Metroids, and sealed doors. Samus also has the Morph Ball ability with bomb placement that allow her to gain access to small spaces. As we progress through the game, we may unlock new weapons, such as the Ice Beam that freezes enemies for a short duration, the Wave Beam for a waving wide attack, the Spazer Laser Beam for a constant wide attack, and the Plasma Beam that does the most damage but fires in a straight line. Metroid 2 introduces upgrades for the Morph Ball that add an extra element to exploration. There's the Spider Ball that allows Samus to move along walls and ceilings, and the Spring Ball that lets Samus jump while in Morph Ball form. The High Jump Boots and the Space Jump returns, allowing access to hard-to-reach places, and the famous Screw Attack, which allows damage to be done while spinning while jumping, returns as well. Lastly, the Varia suit is back, which beefs up Samus' spacesuit and doubles the damage that can be taken. What could have been a handy inclusion was Samus' starship. The ship serves as the game's starting point, and can be returned to allowing health and missiles to be restored, but once we get going deeper into the game's areas, it's nearly pointless to return to the ship. As we explore, killing enemies may drop small energy balls to restore health, or small missiles to restock missiles. Additionally, there are missile batteries to be found that will restore missiles to max, and giant energy balls that will restore health to the max, and these are unlimited use. We also find missile pods and energy tanks to increase maximum missiles and health respectively. While exploring, we encounter a pretty wide variety of standard enemies that mostly serve as fodder to hinder progress. Most are dispatched easily, and some may respawn to a set number of times. Enemies may be farmed to resupply health or missiles, but it can be a slow process as more energy upgrades are found. When leaving and returning to a screen, all enemies respawn again, which can be annoying at times, but isn't much of a hindrance. When we start the game, we are provided with a Metroid Detector, which lists how many Metroids remain to be found. Each area requires a certain amount of these Metroids to be slain, which will then cause an earthquake draining lava that impedes our path, allowing us to move on to the next area. At first, after slaying whatever amount of Metroids, the screen would shake and there would be a rumbling sound, which I had no idea what was going on. The second time it happened, I had to look it up, and found out that the substance that I didn't realize was lava was draining. This is one of the unfortunate things about replaying some of these games today, as many of us do not have the manuals with the game, so bits of info like this aren't always obvious, and being an important mechanic, which would have been nice to have better explained during gameplay. This leads me to the second unfortunate thing about these old games. Sometimes the story and gameplay explanation is absent due to technical restrictions, or they just didn't really care to include it. Unlike the NES Metroid that uses a password system to continue game progress, Metroid 2 uses a battery backup that allows game save locations, which is a very nice thing to have to help continue progress at another time, and makes reloading games as simple as it can get. The story of Metroid 2 Return of Samus is a canon piece of the universe, but without the game manual or the internet, the story is mostly absent from the game itself. Fortunately, most of these game manuals can be read online. What an amazing time we live in, right? Metroid 2 picks up after the events of the first game. In the original release, the greatest space hunter in the Galaxy Federation, Samus Aran, was sent to stop a group of pirates who assaulted a research lab and stole a recently discovered unknown life form called a Metroid and hid on planet Zebus. Metroids multiply when exposed to beta rays, and research shows that they have wiped out an entire civilization. Samus was successful in stopping the pirates, and destroyed all the Metroids encountered. Fearing potential destruction caused by Metroids, a research ship was sent to SR-388, where the Metroid was first discovered and contact was lost. A rescue ship was sent, but also lost contact. A special combat group was formed and sent to help, and go figure, they were never heard from again. Seemingly obvious now, Metroids must be loose on the planet, and the Federation then wises up and calls in the big guns, Samus Aran, to exterminate the threat on SR-388. Before moving on, I'd like to mention that I will be talking about spoilers, so if you'd like to skip ahead, go ahead and click on the annotation. Let's move on then. Exploration of the cavernous planet, signs of an ancient race also seen on Zebus are also present, with the artifactor statues that hold powerful relics, or as we know them, upgrades. While searching for Metroids, we first come across what appears to be a shell. Upon further investigation, we discover that Metroids may evolve into more vicious and terrifying forms. From the standard Metroid comes the Alpha Metroid. After molting the lesser Alpha mutation, we encounter the Gamma Metroid, a more powerful and electrified Metroid. Multiple mutations will lead to the next evolution, the Zeta Metroid, a beastly bipedal form. And provided with even more time to grow, the final mutation we encounter is the Omega Metroid, an evolved Zeta Metroid that's even larger and more powerful. As Samus clears the maze from the variety of Metroids, we stumble upon what appears to be a highly developed section of the planet, showing signs of ancient architecture. Pressing on, we encounter a swarm of original Metroids. Finally, we find the Metroid Queen, who's created all the Metroids, and after a grueling fight, she is destroyed and we rid the universe of a monumental threat. As Samus makes her way to the surface, a tiny egg hatches a baby Metroid that immediately imprints Samus as its mother and begins to follow her. A lucky benefit is the Metroid clears out strange barriers from the path, leading to a quick and easy escape. The Game Boy was a powerful handheld, and the game really shows it. It's relatively close to the graphics and style of its console counterpart, and this ended up to be a solid platformer. Using the Super Game Boy to add some color to the palette is a welcomed feature, even though I can handle it just fine on the default Game Boy color scheme. The music is perfectly suiting to the atmosphere of the game, having a desolate and eerie theme to it. The lack of an in-game map is a pain in the ass, but again with the technical limitations of this generation make it excusable. And worst case scenario, one can easily be found online. As I mentioned before, the lack of super obvious info about the lava and the Metroid death requirement to drain it was annoying at first, but after finding out what it was, made it a unique barrier to overcome. The game provides a good increase in challenge as we progress, and introduces enough variety to keep things interesting. Like its predecessor, beating the game under 3 hours after the credits, we may be treated to a scene showing Samus without her armor on, which was a pretty big deal during the first game, introducing one of the pioneering female heroes in gaming. Metroid 2 Return of Samus is a great entry on the Game Boy. It's a simple game, but it does simple very well. I can admit that I hoped for a little more from the game, but coming from one of the earliest handhelds, I can't really say that I'm disappointed. The Metroid mutations were interesting, but didn't necessarily feel like what checkpoint bosses tend to feel like, but it works well enough. If you're a fan of Metroid on the NES, and can handle aesthetically simple, super basic platforming, action-adventure games of the NES and Game Boy era, it's a decently enjoyable experience. Thanks for checking out my review of Metroid 2 Return of Samus. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you've seen or heard, please give the video a like, a share, and subscribe to see future videos. I'm on Twitter and Facebook as well. Until next time on the Game Grinder.